At my engagement party, my name tag said Placeholder Wife. I stared at it for a few seconds, blinking as if that might somehow change the words. But no, there it was, in crisp black ink, Placeholder Wife. At first I thought maybe it was a joke, a cruel offhand prank. I looked around trying to find someone, anyone, who was also laughing nervously, but no one was. They were sipping champagne, clinking glasses, murmuring in low, polished voices. I felt like I'd stepped into someone else's life, someone who wasn't welcome there. My heart pounded, each beat echoing in my ears like a warning drum. My palms felt clammy. I rubbed them down the sides of my dress, this pale blue silk number I'd picked out weeks in advance, wanting to look elegant but not too flashy. Jace's family wasn't big on too much. I forced a smile, trying to shake it off, willing myself not to spiral. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe it was supposed to say wife-to-be or bride-to-be or literally anything else. Then I heard her, Carla, Jace's mother. That sharp voice dipped just low enough for it to feel sneaky, but just loud enough to be caught. "We'll find him a real one soon," she whispered, the words gliding out like poisoned honey. I froze. Her sister, Jace's Aunt Marla, let out a dry chuckle. It was the kind of laugh that wasn't even trying to be subtle, the kind that stung. I was still standing near the name tag table, holding that little card like it might burn through my skin. I looked up, half hoping someone else heard it and would say something, anything, but they didn't. In fact, a couple of nearby guests chuckled too, like it was some kind of inside joke I'd been too stupid to catch on to. I wasn't just invisible, I was the punchline. My throat tightened. I swallowed hard, but it didn't help. There was a weight in my chest now, like my ribs were too tight, like I couldn't expand my lungs fully. My hands trembled as I reached for my phone, mostly just to have something to do, something to ground me. I stared at the screen, not reading a single notification. I scanned the room, trying to find Jace. There he was, by the bar, surrounded by a circle of old college friends. He was laughing, his hand resting casually on the edge of the marble counter, his suit perfectly tailored as always. He hadn't even noticed I'd come in. Part of me wanted to march over and show him the name tag, throw it in his face and ask him if this was a joke, his joke. But another part of me, the smaller, quieter part, didn't want to hear the answer. Because what if it wasn't a mistake? What if this was how they all saw me? Just a warm body filling a space until someone better came along. Someone more their kind of person. Less Maine, more Manhattan, less Liana Ray with the freckles and the rescued dog, and more someone with a double-barreled last name and a trust fund. My stomach twisted. I took a deep breath through my nose, trying to steady myself. The scent of rosewater and caviar wafted from a nearby server's tray. Everything around me was beautiful, elegant, perfect, except me. And the longer I stood there, the clearer it became. I wasn't just out of place. I was never meant to belong. But what Jace did next, that changed everything. To understand why that moment at the engagement party hit me so hard, you'd have to understand how I even got there in the first place. My name's Liana Ray. I grew up in a little coastal town in Maine, where people smile when they pass you on the sidewalk, and the ocean is never more than 10 minutes away. My family's not wealthy or fancy, but we're close. My mom runs a bakery on Main Street that smells like vanilla and cinnamon year-round. My dad's a retired firefighter who still volunteers during storms. And then there's my little brother, Theo. Wild, loud, impossible not to love. Oh, and Grandpa Joe, who basically raised me when things got rough between Mom and Dad back in the day. We're not perfect, but we're real. We show up. We speak our minds. We hug too tight. So when I met Jace, it was like meeting someone from another planet. I was working at an event design firm in Manhattan, doing table settings for a charity gala, when this tall guy in a tailored navy suit asked if I was the artist behind the floral chandelier centerpiece. His name was Jace Whitmore, finance world golden boy, polished, soft-spoken, and somehow both confident and shy at the same time. I didn't know people could be like that. We started dating a few weeks later, and for a while it was magic. Weekend trips to the Hamptons, wine tastings, spontaneous tickets to Broadway shows. It felt like I was being let into this world I'd only ever seen in movies. Jace was kind, attentive, always pulling my chair out or brushing a hand on the small of my back. He never made me feel small. Not once. At first. The first time I met his mother, Carla, was at their brownstone in the Upper East Side. She opened the door, looked me up and down, and said, "Oh, you're Liana. You're sweet." I knew what that pause meant. I was sweet, and not much else. She made little comments after that, subtle things, like suggesting I wear more neutrals instead of loud colors because they're more timeless, or offering to help me polish up my resume even though I wasn't job hunting. One time, she told me I had farm girl charm, which I'm pretty sure wasn't meant as a compliment. I always tried to let it go, because Jace wasn't like her. At least I didn't think he was. When he proposed in Central Park during a golden hour picnic with a string quartet playing in the distance, I cried, not because of the ring, it was stunning, but because I truly believed he saw me, the real me. Messy, emotional, a little chaotic sometimes, but deeply loyal, deeply in love. The weeks leading up to the engagement party were a blur of fittings, tastings, and way too many meetings with Carla about color schemes and guest lists. She insisted on hosting the party at the Westchester Country Club, said it was tradition. I didn't argue. I just wanted the day to go smoothly. Looking back now, maybe I should have asked more questions. Maybe I should have listened to the knot in my stomach that tightened every time she called me dear with that forced smile. But I wanted to believe things were getting better between us, that she was warming up to me. I told myself she just needed time. But standing there, holding that name tag at the party, I realized something brutal. She didn't need more time. She never saw me as his real future. And the scariest part? In that moment, I wasn't sure Jace did either. I kept staring at that name tag like it might disappear if I blinked hard enough. Placeholder wife. The letters felt etched into my skin, like a scar I hadn't earned but still had to wear. I could have walked out right then. Part of me wanted to, but a bigger part, maybe the more stubborn part, refused to let them see me run. So I slid the card into my clutch and pasted on the kind of smile that made my cheeks ache. As I made my way into the ballroom, I kept hearing their laughter. Not loud, not cruel, just easy. That was the worst part. It wasn't a room full of people trying to hurt me. It was a room full of people who didn't care if they did. The chandeliers sparkled above us like icicles. Waiters moved silently with trays of crab cakes and champagne. I passed groups of people in designer dresses and sharp tuxes, talking about ski trips and summer homes, not even noticing me. I was the outsider at my own celebration. And then I saw Carla. She stood near the head table, flanked by two women I didn't recognize. They were sipping rosé and pretending not to look at me, but their eyes darted over the moment I approached. Carla's smile was tight, polite, performative. She reached out and gave me an air kiss near the cheek. "You look festive," she said, eyes drifting down to my dress. "That color's certainly brave." I wanted to laugh, or scream, or throw my champagne in her face. Instead, I just muttered, "Thanks," and kept walking. I scanned the room for Jace, still by the bar, still laughing with his college friends. I stood frozen for a moment, watching him, hoping he'd look over and catch my eyes, notice something was off. But he didn't. His head tipped back in laughter, his hand resting on his friend Evan's shoulder like it was any regular Saturday night. I suddenly felt like a ghost, like I'd slipped through some invisible crack and landed in a place where I wasn't real to anyone. I walked over to my best friend, Sierra, who had flown in from Chicago to be here. She was standing with my cousin Molly and my uncle Dean. I thought maybe if I could just be around my people for a second, I'd feel tethered again. But Sierra saw it instantly. The tension in my shoulders, the way I wasn't really blinking. She leaned in and whispered, "What happened?" I didn't even try to hold back. I told her everything, about the name tag, the whisper, the laughter. Her face turned stone cold. "Are you kidding me?" she hissed. "Liana, that's not a mistake. That's deliberate." I nodded. I knew she was right, but hearing it out loud hit differently. "I don't think Jace even noticed," I said, voice shaking. "He didn't say a word. He's just over there laughing like nothing's wrong." And then I said the part that scared me the most. "I don't know if he wants to notice." Sierra gripped my arm. "Then you need to make him notice." That stuck with me. All the polite ignoring, the swallowing of my voice, it had gotten me here. Invisible, disrespected, alone in a room full of people clinking glasses to our future. Something inside me snapped into place. Not anger, not sadness, just clarity. I wasn't going to let this slide. Jace didn't know what was happening. He was about to find out. And if he did know, well, that would tell me everything I needed to know. I don't remember walking to the bathroom. I just remember the way the room blurred around me, like someone had smeared Vaseline across my vision. And suddenly, I was standing in front of a marble sink, gripping the edge so tightly my knuckles went white. The bathroom was too quiet, the kind of sterile, echoing quiet that makes your thoughts feel louder. My reflection in the mirror didn't even look like me. My lipstick had faded. My hair had started to come loose. My eyes looked tired. And underneath all of that, there was this tight, pressed expression I didn't even recognize. What am I doing here? The question hit me like a gut punch. Not why did they do this, or how could Carla be so cruel? Just, why am I standing here pretending this is okay? I'd spent so long trying to fit into Jace's world, nodding politely when Carla made her little digs, changing my outfit last minute because she thought it was too loud, even switching the venue from the cozy barn I'd dreamed of to this cold, glitzy country club because she said it would be more appropriate. And I went along with all of it because I thought if I just kept showing up with love and patience, she'd eventually accept me. But acceptance isn't something you should have to earn from people who are supposed to care about you. And Jace, the man I was supposed to marry, he didn't even notice. Or worse, he did and chose to look away. I pressed a paper towel to my forehead, breathing in slow, trying not to cry. My hands were trembling again, but this time not from sadness. From something deeper, something sharper. Resolve. I wasn't going to let this party write the story of who I was. If they wanted to make me feel small, I would stand taller. If they wanted to treat me like I didn't matter, I'd remind them that I do. I smoothed my dress, repinned the loose strand of hair behind my ear, and stared at my reflection until my eyes steadied. I wasn't walking back into that room as the girl who swallowed her words. I was walking back as someone who knew her worth, even if no one else in that ballroom did. I opened the door and stepped into the hallway. The faint hum of classical music floated from the reception room. I could hear laughter again, clinking glasses, the rise and fall of conversations I wasn't invited into. I didn't care anymore. I spotted Jace standing near the center of the room now, glass of champagne in hand, talking to his uncle. A few people were already gathering around the center of the ballroom, forming a semicircle near the mic. Toasts were about to begin. He caught my eye. For the first time that night, our eyes actually met, and for a brief second, I saw something flicker across his face. Confusion? Guilt? Maybe even fear. Good. Let him feel something. Let him notice. I walked toward him slowly, deliberately, feeling every step like I was grounding myself back into my own body. I could feel Sierra watching me from the side, her eyes saying, "You've got this." The mic was passed to Carla first, of course. She gave a short, syrupy toast full of passive compliments and polished venom. People laughed, nodded, smiled politely. Then Jay stepped forward. He cleared his throat and lifted his glass. My heart thudded in my chest like a war drum. This was it. Whatever he said next would either redeem him or reveal him. Jace lifted his glass slowly, the light from the chandeliers catching the rim like it was made of gold. His voice, always so calm and collected, had just the faintest shake to it now, enough for me to wonder. Did he know? "Thank you all for being here tonight," he began. "It means the world to have the people we love under one roof, celebrating something as important as this next step in our lives. Our lives." I stood near the back of the group, just slightly to his right, close enough to hear every breath, but far enough to feel separate, alone. I could feel my pulse in my ears, my fingertips, even in the soles of my feet. I didn't blink, didn't move, just waited. Jace continued, his gaze sweeping across the room, pausing only briefly on faces. Not mine, not yet. I want to say something a little off script. A few polite chuckles. Carla stiffened slightly beside him, her wine glass poised mid-air. There's been a lot of talk, some quiet, some not so quiet, about Liana. There it was. My breath caught. Every muscle in my body tensed, waiting for the next words like a cliff waiting to crumble. "She's different from the women some of you probably pictured me ending up with," he said. "She didn't come from some legacy family. She didn't grow up going to ski lodges in Vermont or debutante balls. She didn't know what the hell foie gras was until last year." A few scattered laughs rippled through the crowd, but Jace's tone shifted. "And that's exactly why I love her." Silence. He looked right at me now, finally, and his voice softened, almost like he forgot anyone else was in the room. "Liana sees people. She listens, really listens. She makes banana pancakes at 2 a.m. when I can't sleep. She hums when she's anxious and cries at commercials. And she has this way of making everyone feel like they matter, even when they treat her like she doesn't." Someone gasped. Carla's glass clinked as she set it down too hard. Jace kept going. "And I've let that slide. I've watched it happen. I've let people say things, laugh at things, even label her things she never deserved. And I didn't speak up." He paused. The kind of pause that fills a room like a thundercloud. "Until now." He raised his glass higher. "To Liana Ray, not a placeholder, not a stand-in, not someone I'm settling for, but the only real one in this room." For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then I heard it. Sierra's quiet gasp, the choked sob from my cousin Molly, and even a slow clap from my Uncle Dean, who never claps for anything. My vision blurred as the tears finally came, not from pain, not from humiliation, but from the sudden overwhelming feeling of being seen. Jace stepped toward me. The crowd parted like waves. He reached out, not with a grand flourish, but something smaller, sincere. His hand extended palm up, waiting. "I'm sorry," he said loud enough for everyone to hear. "I should have said it sooner. I should have said it louder, but I'm saying it now." I didn't even realize I was moving until my hand was in his, and the room, this cold, elegant room, felt just a little warmer. Carla looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. I didn't care, because for the first time all night, I didn't feel like an imposter. I felt chosen, not because I fit into their world, but because someone finally chose mine. The thing about moments like that, the ones that hit like a tidal wave and knock the breath from your lungs, is that everything after feels quieter, slower, almost surreal. The rest of the night moved around me, but I wasn't caught in it anymore. I wasn't shrinking in corners or analyzing every glance from across the room. I was just there, present, real. After the toasts, people came up to me, people who had barely acknowledged me before. They shook my hand, complimented my strength, my grace, my dress. Suddenly, everything was lovely. Some of them looked embarrassed, unsure of where they stood now that the tide had turned. I didn't blame them. They'd just witnessed a shift, a realignment of truth. But the one person who didn't approach me was Carla. She stayed across the room, lips tight, expression unreadable. For a split second, our eyes met, and I saw it. Not warmth, not regret, just recognition. She knew, finally, that I wasn't someone she could push around with a sugar-coated insult and a fake smile. That was enough for me. Later that night, when the guests had gone and the staff began clearing champagne flutes and floral centerpieces, Jace found me out on the terrace. The moon was out, casting silver over everything. The air smelled like roses and wet grass. He walked up slowly, as if unsure whether I'd still want to be near him. I didn't make him guess. "I meant what I said," he said quietly. "I know," I whispered. He slipped his arm around me, and I leaned in, not because I needed to, but because I wanted to, because it finally felt safe to. We didn't talk much that night. Sometimes you don't have to. Sometimes the apology is in the stillness, the way someone chooses to stay, to listen, to hold on tighter. The next morning, I pulled the name tag out of my clutch, Placeholder Wife. I held it between my fingers for a long time. Part of me wanted to burn it, rip it up, throw it in the trash, but I didn't. I kept it, not as a reminder of humiliation, but as a symbol of what I walked through and walked out of. Because here's the truth, sometimes people will try to reduce you to a label, a role, a version of you that makes them feel more comfortable. But you are not their label. You are not their comfort zone. You are your own story. And the people who matter, they'll learn to read it. Jace and I had a long talk after the party, a real talk. No filters, no pleasantries, no pretending. I told him what I felt, what I feared, and what I would no longer tolerate. He didn't get defensive. He listened. He apologized again, not just with words, but with understanding. And he promised that moving forward, our relationship would be led by us, not controlled by anyone else's expectations. Things with Carla are still complicated, but I've stopped waiting for her approval. I don't need it. I never did. What I needed was respect. And now, finally, I have that from Jace, and more importantly, from myself. So if you've ever felt like the background character in your own story, if you've ever been called too much or not enough, or made to feel like a stand-in for someone better, remember this: you don't have to fight for a seat at the wrong table. You build your own, and you sit at it proudly. Because you were never a placeholder. You were the real one all along. If this story meant something to you, if you've ever felt overlooked, underestimated, or like you were living in someone else's shadow, just know you're not alone. Your story matters. You matter. And if you made it all the way to the end, thank you. Seriously. Sharing this wasn't easy, but if it made even one person feel seen or understood, then it was worth it. If this hit home for you, please give it a like. It really helps more people find these kinds of stories. Share it with someone who might need to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more real stories, raw moments, and honest conversations like this one. And hey, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your story too. Until next time, take up space, stand tall, and never forget, you're the real one.